Hello everybody, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our latest update on the weather around New Zealand. And true spring weather is here and things are just about to warm up a little bit. Here's the nor'west flow. You can see it very clearly around the South Island. It's not overly strong, which is why it's not really jumping over the Southern Alps just yet. But as we head through the next 24 hours, the energy out on the Tasman side will push over the ranges. So it's going to get warmer in both islands over the next couple of days. In fact, right through till about Friday, that's when it starts to cool back down again in the south, and then gradually over the weekend as a southerly starts to arrive. It's not a true southerly for most places. It's only brief on Monday, but it's worth mentioning. So this is how we look as we get into lunchtime Thursday. The nor'westers coming out of the subtropics. So it might still be a west to southwest flow for some of you at first. But as the day goes on, those nor'westers really do pick up. And you'll notice the temperatures lifting up everywhere around the country. It'll be warmer, both daytime and nighttime, as the westerly winds pick up. Bit of rain down around Fiordland and maybe a couple of isolated showers around the western North Island. Otherwise, Thursday is actually a pretty dry, mild day. So make the most of it. Once we get to Friday, it gets windier. So you notice the nor'westers are quite strong through these eastern areas. So we'll be seeing blustery conditions, maybe gale force for a time, mostly through the ranges and the tops of the mountains. So windy weather there. Rain on the west coast is pretty heavy as well, being fed by the warmer conditions up here to the north, followed by a cooler change behind it. So we might be seeing a little bit of thunder activity potentially amongst that front. And in the North Island, it's mostly dry, but the winds certainly pick up in the lower half of the North Island. Gale force around Cook Strait as well for a time. A mostly dry day, but the rain comes in at night time. And then the weekend looks like this. There's that front from Friday. Friday's front. Out it goes. Showers behind it and a little bit cooler than it was for around the Wednesday, Thursday mark this week. Saturday looks a bit cooler with these showers coming in. But again, eastern areas are mostly dry. The South Island's not overly windy either as the isobars start to sort of fan out in that area. Then Sunday arrives and more low pressure comes in. Another low down here near Dunedin or the eastern side of Canterbury. Now very different to the setup last weekend. Remember the central air pressure was down into the 960s last weekend. This one only just dropping below 1,000 hectopascals. So this is not a big storm. It's typical spring weather. So you got the heavy rain on the west coast, transitioning away from warm nor'westers to colder sou'westers, usually a classic spring setup that creates a few thunderstorms, and the southerlies then come in later on. So your Monday is not very warm. Monday is a bit wintry again, just for one day. There'll be cold southerlies blowing around the country, showers along the east coast, pretty wet and showery with squally conditions around the North Island. Might even be some hail once again. But look, there's a big high next to it that is tracking in just for the north of the country next week. We still have the westerlies, we've still got the windy weather at times, but next week doesn't look quite perhaps so bad as some of the fronts that we're seeing at the moment. Now just quickly overseas, next Monday at the same time over in the northern hemisphere we'll be seeing Hurricane Jose. You've probably been hearing about this. It's the storm that was behind Irma, but the good news is even though it looks pretty impressive, all the computer models are still saying it's going to be out at sea. It might come in a little bit towards America, then it curves and it might actually affect areas of Canada up in the north there as opposed to America itself. So that is some good news. We'll certainly keep you up to date with that. And before I go, some people have been asking me lately, why do we get these cold blasts? Like spring's here. People sort of seem to think spring is summer. Spring is about winter fading away, and I just wanted to show you this Google Earth image just to remind you exactly where New Zealand is on the planet. We're not that far away from Antarctica and the South Pole, and the majority of our weather comes from this area here. So not surprising at this time of the year that we do get these cold blasts. I'll update you again tomorrow with the very latest outlook for our upcoming weekend.